Joining me today on The Color Conversation will be another dynamic husband and wife team, director Deon Taylor and his wife, producer Roxanne Taylor. Their newest film is entitled Fatale, starring two-time Academy Award-winning actor Hilary Swank and actor Michael Ealy. It's released in theaters on December 18th. Deon and Roxanne will discuss their humble beginnings, a chance meeting they had with billionaire Robert Smith, and of course, how they stepped their game up when working with Hilary Swank. So without further ado, join us in celebrating director Deon Taylor and producer Roxanne Taylor on The Color Conversation. You're cranking them out, man. We could definitely expect you to have something next year, so we ain't worried about that.
Hopefully, if I keep cranking.
It's already, we got them already lined up.
Yeah, you got the machine. The machine is all lubed up and pushing out the cookies for sure.
Machine getting tired, man. Time to make the donuts, man. We over here. We done cranked our cranker off.
No, brother. You just getting started.
Yeah, we are, man. I'm excited, man. Look, we're very passionate, very hungry in what it is we do. And we're really just doing it our way. You know what I mean? Like when you get an opportunity, I think what else is happening to us right now is when you've been denied for so long and then you have a door that cracks and you begin to open that door, everything in you just keeps pursuing and pushing. So part of this energy that people are actually witnessing or seeing from myself and Roxanne is just like a get it done now type of attitude and don't stop. You know, right. Most times filmmakers, you know, I can only speak for film directors that I know and that I've been able to study for a while. You know, some of these guys, and they have the luxury of making a film and waiting time to see what the next film is going to be. Well, for us, we've already been in this world where we've been like, man, hopefully we can make another film. So we got that one done, like get to the next one. You know what I mean? And keep going, because I don't understand, or we've never had the privilege of being in a studio system where you can make a film and then you're working on another one. So maybe in a year or 2 years, you see another Deon Taylor film. Like, I just don't know what that looks like. So our whole process has been do the work, put your head down, work extremely hard on whatever that project is that you want to make and push it out, period. You know, one of the biggest things that I've also seen, and what I think is kind of cool about what we're doing, is you put so much energy into these films, so much light, so much passion, you know, you pour yourself into them, and then you're like, all right, this movie is incredible. Everyone's gonna love it. And what I learned very quickly was it's not about the project all the time in terms of it winning or failing. That's one portion of it, is that you make it. If they mismarket the film, it won't work. If the COVID happens, it might not come out, right? Like it's 50 million other factors that go around that movie. It could be the timing. It could be that people don't have no money at the time. And what I've learned is you throw that thing out there, and if it doesn't work, most times, 95, 97% of the time with Black filmmakers, you might not get another opportunity if something doesn't work financially. Right. So the whole idea here is get them out there, man. You know you're making quality work. You know you're doing the work. You know what I mean? See, keep turning the wheel, man, and making sure these things keep going. And if you're blessed enough to have an intruder, you know what I mean, or a Black and Blue, or, you know, like we've been really, 2019, we were extremely blessed. I think we're the only second Black filmmaker to release 2 feature films in a physical year worldwide. Wow. The only other was Tyler Perry to put out 2 movies in the same year. Then it gets to like James Cameron and Steven Spielberg, you know what I mean? But that's a big year, man, when you're able to make movies and put them out wide theatrically. It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is a grind. And so what I'm understanding is that you're still on this independent sort of kind of, right? Is that what you're saying? But you want to be more studio, kind of on their studio list, so that you don't have to hustle as hard. Is that correct?
No, not at all. No, we tried our hand at the studio when we first started, myself and Roxanne. This is kind of how we started. we are actually the definition and the product of no. We went out, we tried to ask, can we have an opportunity? We had scripts, we pitched, everybody told us no everywhere we went. And that process lasted about 5 years for us. Wow. And finally, we met someone and it was like, man, you should just try to make your own movie. And once our radar turned to, wait, what? You can do what? You can get your money and make your own film? Mm-hmm. Once we found out that we could validate ourselves, once we found out that we could tell ourselves yes and go make something, we went that way. And what has happened is over the course of 10 years of doing it our own way and making our own films, those studio opportunities have come multiple times. The issue has been us going, no, we cool because now we're making our own product, we own our own product, and we're figuring out that you can not be work for hire, but more so be in partnership with studios and distribute your own product.
Right.
So Black and Blue was a studio movie. I tapped into that film with Sony because I loved the screenplay and wanted to have the opportunity to make the first ever film where a Black female lead played a cop in cinematic history. So I'm like, oh, I'll do that because that's something that I want to put my stamp on and my signature on. But everything else, Fatale is an independent film that was produced by this lady to my right, 100% by herself. Mm-hmm. You know, it was co-written by me and David Lowery. And we went and did our own financing and made that film. And that was the same exact path with Meet the Blacks, The Intruder, Traffic, and everything else we've made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you seem to be gaining a lot of momentum. And I was looking at the production notes that you're surrounded by a lot of talent, which is definitely a smart move to do. I saw you stepped up with Spinati, the cinematographer, and obviously you're working with Miss Hilary Swank. Maybe she'll be in your roster now as well. I know you've worked with Michael Ealy in the past as well. So talk to our audience about what it was like working with Miss Hilary Swank first, and then segue into Michael. I know you worked with him before, but let them know.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, part of my background is sports, basketball. That's I came from the Chicago area, bouncing a ball, and found my way out of that world to be able to play basketball professionally overseas. So what I learned along the way as a basketball player was team is everything. Mm-hmm. Everything, if you ever want to win, you got to have the right people around you. You got to have a shooter, you got to have a rebounder, you got to have a good coach. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it started here with Roxanne being the foundation, the producer. First of all, she's the coach. You got to have somebody that understands how to put the play together, which is the whole production. Right. And what I've tried to do along the line here is go find the best people I could possibly get to be in the things that we're doing, because we already knew we had one strike because we're Black. And number two, we knew we wanted to find major distribution. So we have to find talent. So that's i.e. Dennis Quaid. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Sprinkling him in with the Michael Ealy, Hilary Swank, sprinkling, you know what I mean? So those things are us thinking long range, like, okay, how do we get our movies made, but also douse a little bit of what Hollywood needs to have? And that became our DNA. That's our print right now. Our print is we make universal films with people that look like us in them. So although we are fans of movies that everybody's in the movie Black, obviously I've written a few of those where I'm like, okay, this will be a great Black film, but I love movies that look like the world. So that's why Michael Ealy, opposite Hilary Swank, is what we did in this film, which is, man, Denzel plays movies colorless. No one ever goes to a movie like, damn, that's a Black man. And no, they just see him as that character. Right. And I think that's priceless. So going to get Hilary was challenging in the beginning. Obviously, her agents and managers and her team and people like that, here I come, like, hey, I got this great erotic thriller. You know what I mean? They're like, man, get your ass out of here. You know what I mean? They're like, you do know she has 2 Oscars, right? And I'm like, yeah, but it don't matter. We got this.
Cha-ching.
Right. And I'm going like, well, hey, look, we got this really dope movie, and here's what it is. And what's been a blessing is I have been very, very good at getting to talent myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been a blessing for us, that we are smart enough and well-versed enough to be able to get to people and have conversations. And once I got to Hilary and had a general meeting with her, and she heard my passion and knew what I wanted to do, I then knew that the agents would have to deal with her, because now she's saying, I really like this, no matter if you guys don't. And sometimes actors have to take a chance, and you have to remember, Hilary won those Oscars on independent films.
Right.
So Boys Don't Cry was a low down, dirty, independent movie, one camera.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Clint Eastwood had an independent film. So she's like, wow, this is interesting, like what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, but it's going to be commercial, but it's independent. And we won that. Me and Roxanne sat down with her.
Mm-hmm.
She came on board, and we had a giant actress, you know what I mean? And then it was like, all right, now how do we now put her into the culture, right? Like, what do you do now? Because obviously the other choice is, oh, you could just go get this person or that person, and that didn't work for us. We wanted to go get someone that we had worked with, and we wanted to also get someone that was box office talent for us as well. So we needed someone that could work for the Black audience for box office, and we needed somebody that could go toe to toe with a 2-time Academy Award winning actress.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard,
mm-hmm.
you know? And we had just opened The Intruder with Ealy,
right,
where Michael Ealy and Megan Good and Dennis Quaid opened against Avengers Endgame, right, in the theaters. Now, so you could put this in perspective, Avengers Endgame is historically the biggest movie ever made, box office wise. It beat Titanic, okay? Mm-hmm. So now we have a produced movie by Roxanne, a $4 million produced film that opens number 2 in the world to that film.
Nice.
So that's when you go, oh, okay, well, I guess Ealy is bankable, right? So you're like, yeah, so I need to use our guy, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the interesting story is Roxanne tells it really well. Tell her the Hilary Swank, Michael Ealy story. It's great. This is great. You're going to love this.
Okay.
That she didn't know US.
Oh, so, you know, obviously she gives us a list of names, kind of more artsy, you know, AA list to choose from. And we're just like, no. We said, okay, how about Michael Ealy? And she was like, who? Oh. We said, Michael Ealy, you know, the ones, the green eyes, and Deon used to say, he kind of looks like me. Anyway, she didn't know who Michael Ealy was.
Just a little bit, Deon, just a little bit.
Which blew our mind. You know what I mean? He's a household name for the African-American community. You know what I mean? And for her not to even know who he was, it was really challenging to convince her to play opposite of him. We had to educate her on who he was, what his box office is, you know what I mean? And Deon sent a picture of him, and she was like, oh my God, he's nice looking.
Yeah, but that's
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that is the divide in Hollywood. Right. That is the white and the Black of Hollywood. It wasn't that his work wasn't on the level. It was the fact that Black Hollywood and white Hollywood is operating in two different spaces. Right. And here's a guy that is a household name for us, who has had a couple movies that have got to $100 million in the box office. Right. And here is this caliber of actress in this world, and she has no idea who that even is. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. But when they got together for the first time, when they walked on set, Hilary said, he said, and I remember like it was yesterday. I came off the set the first day. First Michael Ealy came to me and said, the day was over. He said, man, I gotta get to work. You know, and then I went to Roxanne. I didn't tell Ealy this, but I went to Roxanne that evening. I said, I got to get to work. You know what I mean? Like the level of the playing field changed, where I'm asking Hilary to give me one thing, and within that one take, she's giving you multiple levels of the same thing over different ways. And then she'll come back and say, hey,
Absolutely, absolutely. We thoroughly enjoyed it, and I had no problem with the the diversity. Obviously, now in 2020, that's not an issue. Whereas maybe 10 years ago, it might have been more of a selling point. Yeah. I remember when Denzel did he did something with a white actress.
No, he did Mississippi. He did Mississippi Masala that got a whole bunch of heat first.
Yes, he did.
But there was something he did, and it was, I think he didn't want to kiss the girl or something like that. I forget.
Bone Collector. I mean,
Pelican Brief with Julia Roberts.
Pelican Brief.
That's what it was. Yeah. So this 10 years ago, this would have been that. Whereas, oh my God, they got a love scene and this, that, and the other. But now it was just like, oh well, it happens every day. It's not a big deal, which is really great. I personally think it's excellent that the two of them can get together as normal people and it not be a big deal, both black and white or whatever their ethnicity is. But go ahead, Stephanie. You have a question?
Yeah, I was going to say I want to get into the film, and we have all these clips, and I want to talk about it. But I want to ask both of you a question because you're a husband and wife team, and Floyd and I are a husband and wife team, and sort of the same story. Just my background is corporate America, and Floyd's always been in film, and just having people say no to you just really makes you want to do your own thing and prove that I can do this. That's why we started this film festival on the Vineyard. But I wanted to ask both of you, so what is it like working with your spouse? And how did you guys come together and do this? So Roxanne, have you always been a producer? I know Deon, you're a cinephile, you have a love of film, but how did this whole magic happen?
Well, he pulled up on me at Burger King and ordered some fries with the shake, and the rest is history.
That's it? Just Burger King? Not Red Lobster? Burger King?
Pull up on him at Burger King.
Right. The old fries come with that shake.
Yeah, that's a tried and true line right there.
I did meet him 30 years ago at Burger King. We became really good friends, but no, I wasn't always a producer. I came from computer science, but I always did want to be in the film business as well. And unfortunately, I was scared to be in front of the camera, so I had to go on the backside because when the camera comes on me, I just freeze up, stumble words, don't know what to say. So I said, okay, I'm gonna try to go through the back. And so I kind of took 10 steps back to go get into this world, and started as a PA at the Walker, Texas Ranger show, answering phones, picking up trash, doing whatever was needed to learn and to get on, and eventually I found my way to the Directors Guild, which again, I had no idea at this time what the Directors Guild was, what it even was, what it meant, how important it was. But being there, I was the assistant to the national executive in charge of theater awards and the facilities for New York and LA office. So I was able to learn so much about producing, managing the awards with the team, managing the day-to-day facilities operations, managing the screenings. My first actual producing job was an Alfred Hitchcock exhibit. So that was my first taste of organizing and managing something, on my own in the film world. And I immediately fell in love with the process. I didn't stay long. I was a little taken back from the experience. I have to say, coming from corporate to Hollywood, it was a major shock. The culture was different, you know what I mean? And male dominated community. And a lot of yelling and screaming and, you know, do this and do that in 16-hour days. And it was just a whole different world that I had never experienced. And at that time, I wasn't sure how to deal with it, didn't have really any mentors to talk to and look up to. So I decided to walk away. And that was at the same time when Deon decided to make his first film. And because I was the only one he knew, so he thought, in the business, we decided to, you know, make this first movie, 75, aka Dead Tone. And that was really my first real movie. And again, like being self-taught, no film experience, I had no idea what I was doing, but we had a really good core group that helped us on the film. So I was able to learn. I'm a very quick learner, so I got it really quick. But as far as like working together, I mean, I'm working with my best friend, you know what I mean? I know a lot of people sometimes can't stand being around each other 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it's great. Like, I have no interest in being a director, you know what I mean? And he has no interest in producing. So we have our lanes, we stay in them, you know what I mean? And he supports me when I need it and vice versa, you know what I mean? I feel like we're just we're great partners. The partnership is great because what he has, I don't have. What I have, he doesn't have. And I have to, as a producer, I mean, you're overseeing, you know, from concept to delivery, a whole entire production with, you know, over 150 people on your staff. And I'm doing that with multiple movies at the same time. So it's really like a whole mindset that you have to be in and live and support these visionaries, because their brains are all over the place. I mean, you have to keep him like strictly on the path, because he goes like this all day long, and new ideas all day long, and changing script and dialogue on set, and oh, that doesn't work, let's try this. And we've created a really good relationship and a bond on set where I allow him to do everything that he wants. He's the boss, not me. You know what I mean? He's the director, and I want to be able to give him everything that he needs to get on that screen that he sees in his head for that vision and that final product. And so I'm really good at being able to manipulate on set at the last minute to make sure that he gets what we want, he needs. We have to compromise, it works. But I think that friendship and having that relationship and understanding is everything with anyone you are around. You know what I mean? You have to be able to respect that person, and you have to be able to communicate and get what needs to be done. There is no in my vocabulary with him or anybody else. It's okay, how do we figure this out to make it happen? Because the end game, like he said, is, you know, we're trying to create a library of films and content that we own, that we can stand up and say we did this and possibly sell this company, you know what I mean? As the next Blumhouse, you know, or whatever that is. So that's my vision, that's my goal, and whatever I can do to support him, I'm here, you know?
No, I totally agree with you. Floyd and I have been together, I think, almost 30 years as well. And it didn't start out with the festival. Like I said, he's been in film and I was always in corporate America. And I do agree with you when you say that, you know, when you leave corporate and you're in like entertainment, film, it's just a whole different world. But I believe that my corporate experience sort of helps me stay focused and just being able to talk that talk with our corporate sponsors and entities, because you know how they are. They like when you speak the same language as them and all those nice little buzzwords and stuff like that. But
they're all street people.
Right. But you know, it's been great. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a little challenging sometimes because we're both creatives. You know, I'm a creative at heart and so is he. And he is definitely the director and I am the producer. I guess if we could say it like that, I am. I learn a lot from Floyd. But it's tough doing the festival, right? Because I lead with the heart and he leads with like well, the script and the direction and the cinematography. I'm like, oh, but I love this film. And, so can't we accept everybody? So
Yes.
it's nice like that, but I wouldn't want to do this with anybody else, because why not just keep the money within the family, and to your point, create this legacy for our children, hopefully to have it go on. Doing this festival for 19 years was not an easy feat. It's just like your story, it wasn't, our overnight success didn't just happen. There were a lot of bumps and bruises and recessions and childbirth and everything in between, but COVID.
Yeah. But I mean, who better to share that with? I mean, like, he knows everything about me. I know everything about him. And
right.
When he's down, I can lift him up, and vice versa. It's just like, you have to have that support system, that backbone, you know what I mean, to keep going. I mean, we've quit, we've cried. I quit a couple months ago. I'm like, I'm tired of this.
I'm tired of this.
I don't ever quit.
He'd be like,
I
oh
don't
my
never
God,
quit.
it lasts for a couple hours, you know what I mean?
She quits every 9 months. She quit. And I'm like, all right, cool.
You're like, whatever.
I see you tomorrow morning at work. I see you in the hour at the office. Like,
Oh
you keep rowing the boat no matter what, right?
No, you know what? You guys are an example of the same thing we're doing. It's a deeper dive, man. When you talk to certain people, it's very easy for me to have the film talk, but then there's also another level to being Black in entertainment.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There's a whole world that could be a conversation for 3 hours, which is most 98% of us are first generation, whatever it is we are.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And when I think about, being raised in project housing,
wow,
being able to bounce a ball, to be able to get out of the community that I was in, and to pursue something as far-fetched as being a Black filmmaker and putting movies out, 30 plus years later, is like, no one could imagine that. You know what I mean? Like my dad, 2 tours in Vietnam, came back to Gary, Indiana, worked in a steel mill and died. Mm-hmm. That was life. You know what I mean? My mom worked 4 or 5 jobs, always wanted to have a better life for us. We just slept on floors. She just slept on floors. Like, we're first generation at this. Mm-hmm. So when you look at that 5 years of being told no, that's the 5 years of you don't have no experience. You're just trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? But we've been told no as people our whole lives. That's what makes us very, very unique as Black people, right? We've been told, no, your lights ain't on. No, you can't get them shoes. You know what I mean? No, we ain't got enough money. So we're built with a little bit of a different thing in the back of our head when you come from these inner cities and these, impoverished neighborhoods where you don't have everything. So coming into the film business, an executive telling me no, we're gonna pass on this, Deon. Like, I'm like, damn, I already won because I was in the room with you. You know what I mean? I'm like,
that's a good way of looking at it. That's an excellent way of looking at it.
I already won because I'm sitting in LA at Warner Brothers. You know what I mean? Like, what? You don't even know do you know where I came from? So that energy is a completely different energy. But when I say first generation, it means that we're learning how to be, filmmakers. We're learning how to be producers. We're learning how to own film festivals. Mm-hmm. We're learning how to deal with sponsors. You know what I mean? So all of that you've been able to do, Floyd, and you and your wife, this is what it's going to be. In 5 more years, this is Sundance for us. You know what I mean? But you guys are building it, and no one else is doing that because that road is hard. And most times as Black people, we get one opportunity to fail because we can only afford one opportunity to fail. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, I started that business, gave it all my money, and the shop closed down. I ain't doing that shit again. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. So we're just happy to be here, man, and to have what I like to call survived the metaphysical death of getting to the other side of entertainment, because you definitely have to die.
No, I agree with you on that one. I do agree with that. I think, but I agree with what you're saying. I definitely do. That that is not my story, the way I grew up, you know, that it wasn't, I didn't have that story, but I've always worked hard because that's just what my parents instilled in me. You know what I mean? But my parents had a little bit of my childhood was fine, but I always wanted to, but they instilled a sense of Black pride in me, and always thinking that you're never better than anybody. No one's better than you. Everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time. So, you know, whatever you're going to do, give it your best shot, all of that stuff. But what I find when we do the festival, people will say to us, and this is Black and white people, they'll say, "Oh, Stephanie, oh, I know, yeah, the Vineyard, I know you do this event, but who owns it?" And I'm like, me and Floyd and I do. "Oh, I know, no. I know you're there every year. I know you're, you know, HBO, Netflix, but who owns it?" I'm
That's
like,
right.
"It's mine." Like, what do you mean who? Like, are you going to ask someone from another festival, a festival of color, do they own their festival?
No.
And I don't know if it's because I'm a woman as well, and I know it's because of my color, but I find it so insulting when people, and especially people who look like me, will just always say, "Oh, I know you guys do that. It's great, but HBO owns that, right?" I'm like, no, HBO does not own this shit. It's mine. It's
Right.
Right.
And why does that matter if I'm inviting you and I'm showcasing you and your project?
you.
Like, be thankful for that. Like,
Right.
that's crazy.
It is crazy, but
We want to thank the owners.
I'm
We want to
like,
thank the
let's thank the owners.
We want to thank, hey Floyd, we want to thank
Can
the
you
owners.
get the owners on the line? No,
exactly. It's just
it's
like,
crazy.
I don't know and I want us as a people to just get out of that mindset of like, oh, okay, like what is, like, yes, I own it. Like, yes, we own
Just,
it.
saying they
We are
see
the
you
Roxanne
and
own
congratulate you.
That's
Just
it.
congratulate you for your success.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but you know, I think that's a whole nother conversation of unlearned behavior and the competition, instead of being rewarding to one another and, you know, trying to one up someone or feel like you are better than them is a challenge that us as Black and brown people have. And it does take people like all of us to try to break that cycle and pull up people regardless of how they feel and say, hey, come on, let's try this, let's do this, encourage them, motivate them, because this could be you doing your own thing, because everyone was nothing before they were something, right? We're all important, but you weren't an A-list actress, you know, you weren't you know what I mean? The A-list musician. Like, yeah, it's like,
right.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
All right, I want to get back to some Fatale questions for the audience. That's what we're here for. But but I want to talk more about Fatale, and I want to get into hidden gems. And one of the things that really intrigues me is your relationship with Mr. Robert Smith. So if you can share and elaborate with that, how that come together. You know, do you know him from long ago, et cetera?
So Robert,
another crazy story.
Another insane story, man. So 14 years, 13, maybe 13 years ago now. It might be longer than that. I'm trying to start my first film. We're rubbing two sticks together. It's the movie Roxanne was just discussing, and we have no idea what we're doing. And all I know is that we're making a movie. We're actually making a movie. And my brother at the time I had just finished playing basketball. My brother was in the NFL, but he was barely in the NFL. so we were kind of like making this film and going about it. And at the time we were running out of money, and I wasn't going to be able to finish this movie. And it was going to be the same story that everyone else always tells, right? Like, I was making a movie and I ran out of money. Right. But that's what happens when you're an independent filmmaker. You're supposed to run out of money, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I need another week. I need another 2 weeks. And this lady was like, Deon, she had came on set and she was blown away. She was a publicist for my brother. And she was like, I know this guy and he has a lot of money and you should know him because you're so funny and he's like the coolest guy. You guys would really like each other. And I'm like, oh, where's he at? because he got some money, right? And she like, yeah. And I said, can he come down here tomorrow? Because we need the money. Because we need some money. And she was like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, but you should just know. She was like, you should just know him. So I was like, all right, cool. Anyways, I was like, maybe have him come by the set. It'd be nice to meet him. We're making a movie. You know, she was like, I'm gonna tell him you guys doing this little movie thing. It'll be cool. So she calls me back 2 days later. She says, hey, he's actually going to Europe for the rest of the month. And at the time, Robert is in San Francisco. We're in Sacramento. So we're, you know, an hour right away. So she's like, he's not gonna be back for a month. So I'm gonna keep on him, but in a month, I'll get him and you guys will meet or whatever. And I'm like, damn, okay, cool. So we keep shooting the movie. 4 days later, she calls me on the phone. She's like, you're never gonna believe this. Robert's trip to Europe got canceled and he wants to come visit your movie set.
Wow.
Now, oh, by the way, this is not Robert Smith today. This is like grinding. He's worth $100 million, Robert. Okay, like, all right, this is
like that's not enough.
Listen, no,
100 million, billion.
Listen, there's a difference.
There is a difference.
There's a difference.
There is.
There's $100 million. There's a difference between 100 and a billion. So
I look forward to knowing what that is.
Me too, man. One day. So I'm like, oh, he's gonna come. So she's like, he's gonna come down to set. So I'm like, all right, cool. So boom, this Friday happens, and I'm waiting for him. So now I know he's a very high caliber guy. Roxanne, everybody on set has been alerted that there's a gentleman that's gonna come here. We're just meeting him, but potentially he might be an investor to help us finish this film.
He put a suit on and everything.
So I got a suit. I'm directing with a tuxedo and a cummerbund on. I'm waiting for him to come, right? I got it. I'm like, cut, goddamn cover with a bow tie on. So finally, like the guy, one of the PA comes and he says, "Hey, Deon, a Ferrari just pulled up in the back," and I'm like, "That's the dude." So I'm like, everybody, hold on a minute. I'm leaving. I'm gonna go greet this guy who just pulled up to this set that we're on. I walk out there. The car's out there. I'm like, damn, that's a cold car right there, man. I'm looking around, don't see him at all. I asked the little white kid that's working there with me, I said, hey, did you see where the man went? He was like, no, I didn't see him. I'm gonna go look. So he went around the corner and went and walked away. So I'm standing there in the lobby looking around at this set we're on, and this black guy comes up and he's dressed up, and I'm thinking to myself like, all right, he might be with Robert.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I'm like, hey, brother, how you doing? He's like, I'm doing good, man. How are you? And I'm like, hey, did you see who got out that car? So he looks around and he's looking at me and I'm looking at him. I'm like, yeah, did you see the man got out the car? He's like, I'm the guy that got out the car. So I'm like looking at him now and I'm shocked because she never told me Robert was black.
Oh, I see.
So I'm thinking I'm looking for a white man. You know what I mean? So we laugh. Anyways, long story short, man, he says to me 3 hours into a meeting, he says, what do you want to do and what do you want to be in 5 years? And I know that's the most cliche question in the world. I tell people this story all the time. It was the first time I had to really give a real answer, right? And I was like, I got to think about it. And he said, what makes you different than everybody else doing film? And I was like, well, here's the thing that's gonna make me different. First of all, I'm a black dude doing a horror movie. Secondly, I want to jump genres. And this is crazy, man, because we're having this conversation now with press and media. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, I want to make movies like Steven Spielberg. I want to be able to make Jaws and The Color Purple. And I don't know any black filmmakers that jump genres. If you think of Spike, you think of this. You think of Tyler, you think of this. You think of Antoine Fuqua, you think of this. But I want to be able to do all of the different genres. And he was like, that's fascinating. Next thing I know, man, Robert Smith calls me to San Francisco. I go down there. He asked me how much money do I need to finish the film. He gets on a whiteboard because he's a master at a whiteboard. Mm-hmm. He does whatever on the whiteboard. I said, I need $100,000. He was like, you don't need $100,000. I said, I do, sir. Please, that's all I need. He was like, what happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? What happens? And I'm like, damn, boy, ain't none of that gonna happen. He's like, you don't ever know. And we get to like $500,000 that I need. Robert gave us the money, man, and kicked off our career, kicked us off, started us.
Wow.
And what was crazy was we lost our ass in that film. We lost everything. But we were learning the business. What came out of that movie was he watched the film and he said, you got part one down. You know how to make a really good movie. Now you got to go figure out how do you get that movie to become profitable. And that took us on a journey. And every movie since then, we have returned residual income every time. And he was right. We got the first part down. We knew how to make the product. Then we had to learn the business side of it. And obviously, me and Robert have become the best of friends. We have so many businesses and things together, and we handle philanthropy for him. Robert is our partner in Hidden Empire. He's also our partner in Be Woke Vote, which is our philanthropy arm, which this year, myself, Roxanne, registered close to 800,000 people to vote. And he's just an all-around, look, anytime you got a guy that's skyrocketing to the moon like that, and you're able to call him on the phone and say, hey, I got a thought. Can you help me understand why this might be that? It doesn't matter what line of business you're in, because it's the same things that are happening. It's just a different language. You know what I mean? So Robert was one of the first people to say, man, look, you're building now. You guys are building. Now you're creating a library. Now you're creating a company. Why would you want to go work for somebody, have them give you a fee when you can make a whole film for the fee they're gonna give you?
That's right.
Right? And that's kind of kept me and Roxanne going that way. And while we're at the place we are right now, he's been an absolute blessing, man. And for those that don't know Robert, it's hard to sum him up, man. I call him Legend. I gave him a nickname, Legend, 7 years ago, and everybody I know calls him Legend now. But he
even his son is named
his
Legend.
son's name Legend.
Is that right? Is that his son's name, really?
Yeah, he is he's a unicorn, man. Those types, people think that, it's easy to go go make something and sell it and make $1 billion. Like you can make some type of thing that sits in the front windshield and somebody can buy it, or an app. This is a guy that has revolutionized business and the ability to actually create something and sell it for multiples on top of multiples, and do it not once, but thousands of times every year. You know what I mean? So he is a genius, but he's also the most down-to-earth, humblest person you could know. I told this guy the other day that if you want to sum Robert up and you want to understand who he is, let me explain this to you. He's the only African-American billionaire to ever sign the Pledge Act, meaning that when he dies, all that money goes away to philanthropy.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wow.
That's great. That's phenomenal.
That's when you for the audience when they see this. That's awesome.
That's when you know you got a special person.
Absolutely. Yeah, his mom is lovely. Yeah, that's great.
She's awesome. She was a school teacher, and and just a brilliant woman as well. So you understand where he got it from. You know what I mean? Yeah, you see it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. That's a phenomenal story, brother. Thank you for sharing it with us. So we want to get into some Fatale. So tell the audience real quick about Fatale, why you did this movie, and then we'll jump into one of the clips, and you can elaborate on that when we come out of that.
Definitely, man. So Fatale was one of the films that I wanted to create. I was always obviously a fan of, like everyone, Fatal Attraction. I know there have been plenty of remakes or ideas centered around movies like Fatal Attraction, but for me, it was always different. Like, I just love the integrity of that movie. People have now copied that film and made what I like to call bootleg imprints of it, right? But when you really think about the performance of Michael Douglas and Glenn Close, and you really understand the raw tension that was in that film, that movie goes beyond any award. It's great. He's really caught in something that he can't get out of. He doesn't know what to do, and he's blocked by his wife and his family. You know what I mean? There's no way in hell he could tell them this. Right? And each time he's figuring it out, she gets a little more crazy. So I was always a fan of the performance of what it was, and the fact that it was a real life problem that he was trying to figure out. And as men and women, we're always kind of in these boxes where we're trying to figure things out. Mm-hmm. So when Fatale came, we had just finished doing Traffic, which was a very hard-hitting film, very, centered in a world where I wanted young Black and brown girls to know, myself and Roxanne, that we are the ones being trafficked. Right. Mm-hmm. We thought that you're looking at Liam Neeson in another country, and I'm telling people like, no, you're the number one trafficked person in the world. You are. You know what I mean? Not some foreign girl in Russia, although they're going through it. American girls in inner cities are being trafficked daily. Right. So coming out of that, I wanted to do something that was a little bit different, but also had a message. So Fatale came from a little bit of me going, what's a crazy story that deals with someone that meets someone only to be used as a pawn after a simple meeting? Mm-hmm. And it was one simple mistake can change your life. Yeah. Right. And that thought drove this film for me. I was like, damn, I remember I was shooting baskets. I came in the house and said, Roxanne, I got this idea for this movie. It's this dude, and he goes to Vegas. And she was like, oh my God, this is crazy. My next phone call was to the writer. And I said, hey, I got an idea. Can you talk for 30 minutes? He was like, yeah, I pitched him the whole movie. I said, you got to write it now. But what's interesting about Fatale is it does give you the twist and the turns and the fun movie. But if you peel it back, it's a story about what's the most important thing that you have in your life: your reputation and your name. Absolutely. There's no check, there's no money, there's no car. There's if I go on Instagram today and say Floyd did this, right, and 10 more people say what, he did that, and they carry it on. Floyd, you in for a rude awakening, man. You gotta try to tell people you didn't do that. Right. Right? And if it's a big enough issue, which we've seen in Hollywood with a lot of people, there is no coming back for you. So I said, man, I wanted to center on that as a filmmaker. Like, I wanted to see what a guy would do that makes a mistake, but not only does he lose the family, but he also loses who he is in the rapid fire of this whole thing. And at the end of the day, he has to fight back to let America, let the world know, yo, I'm not what y'all just said I was.
I saw elements of, and I agree with everything you're saying. I saw elements of Strangers on the Train in that film as well. Exactly. Okay, great. Yeah. I love movies.
It just turned left. Yeah, that's right. It just turned left. Yeah.
I was like, Strangers on the Train. I get it. Yeah. Good call. So, that's great.
So we're gonna get into one of the clips. All right, you're on, Deon. What's happening? What's happening here?
You already know what's happening.
Right. Or what happened.
You know what's interesting about that scene was I came up with that moment on set. We were playing with that scene for about an hour, and there was a lot more dialogue in there that we were playing with. And I just thought, man, how witty is she to put someone's keys in a safe? Do you know what I mean? Already, this is who you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You're already dealing with that person that has got up in the middle of the night, got your shit, and put it into. She already looked at your ID.
Right.
She got you already.
And she already know who you are.
Right.
And I thought to myself, like, wow, like, this is really, really cool. So without me giving it away on here, I don't want to say what I want to say, but it showed what she was already. It showed how smart she was already. You know what I mean? And I said, this is it. Like, when we did it, it was one take. And I was like, that's moving on. We out of this. Because I knew, like, that was going to grab audience. And we've screened this movie with audiences, and you can't hear the scream. Because they're like, oh. You know, everybody's like going crazy. And I said, that's exactly right, man. Like, this is a tough situation. He was already trapped.
Right. Right. She got him.
Didn't even know it.
All right, let's get to the next one. All right. Scene, man. It looks really great. I mean, the cinematographer did a great job. I like the close-ups on Michael and on Hilary as well. It's definitely one of the things that popped out at me was the cinematography. So elaborate on that scene, if you will.
Yeah, so, I mean, just speaking on the cinematography, it's the incredible Dante Spinocchi, two-time Academy Award nominated cinematographer, done movie The Insider, Last of the Mohicans, Heat, just one of the most special people behind the lens you could have. So those moments that he's creating there are, I mean, they're just cinematic gold. I mean, no way you, Floyd, which I know is a movie guy and really understand film. When you see something like that, you understand that it's being lit by practicals outside. You know, that is really downtown LA behind her. You know what I mean? It's just all the moments are there. And he's incredible to work with. I had an opportunity to work with him on Black and Blue as well. And I just thought his work on that film was phenomenal. So we're hoping that this man can be recognized for his work in Fatale, for shooting the LA noir thriller like this. But yeah, that scene is it's a unique scene, man. I'm really pushing as a Black filmmaker in that world. I'm in Mike's eyes at that time. And what I'm trying to do is show you he's boxed in. There's nowhere for him to go. So this scene is very, very powerful if you just watch the actor's eyes, Michael Ealy's eyes and Hilary's eyes. And if you really pay attention to the scene, if you watch Damaris, who's an amazing actress that's next to him, she has no idea that there's a storm going on between these two characters. She's kind of like, it sounds simple on the outside, but oh, it's a storm brewing in both of them. And I'm like, man, this is gold. You know what I mean? What can he do? Only thing he can do is lie and hope and see what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, but this was the part I pitched to Roxanne, which was, this is the nightmare, that you do something and go home and you're done with it, only to have that person arrive in your living room of your house.
Right.
What? What? Yeah, that's like, okay, now you're really playing ball. So I love that scene. It's great.
Yeah, what I thought was interesting, and me and Stephanie had a chuckle out of this, is when she says, don't I know you from somewhere? And I'm like, you don't ever say that in front of another man's wife. You don't say, do I know you from somewhere? Like, no. Like, something's like, you get me in trouble right now with that. Like, just take it alone. Don't I know you from somewhere?
You heard what he said, right? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at me.
No,
she's like,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Jump in.
I thought that was funny. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So let the audience know what you were thinking in that scene when you were directing that.
Well, that was just a great scene for two guys that own a company together. And both of them have different ideas on what the company should be or where it should go. And I felt like that was a really, really powerful scene to put in the film, because oftentimes, like we say, when you're first generation at something, now they've built something together that is actually very profitable. And one partner is saying, look what we built. We can keep on building it and owning it. And another partner is saying, we're hot. Everybody wants to buy us, right?
But he has an ulterior motive, though, right? I don't want to give it away, but
yeah, he does. But I think that ulterior motive of him wanting to sell, right, is also prying in their relationship. They can't see eye to eye on that. Right. You know what I mean? And that's one of the problems with business at times. That's why it's incredible that you have your wife as your partner. Not that you guys can't not see eye to eye, but you got to be in business with people that you know and you trust. And right. You guys have to have the same idea of what you're doing with that company, because there will be a time that if you keep working it, that it becomes profitable and someone would say, I'd like to buy it, right? And you might say, well, no, I've been working for 15 years to build this. I'm not selling it. And I just thought that was a really good, here's two good friends, best friends, and here's something that at night, both of them are tossing and turning because they can't get along with the same idea.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that was excellent. What's the gentleman's name? What's his partner's name?
That's Mike Coulter, who's a phenomenal actor. Mike Coulter plays Luke Cage. He's also on the number one show on ABC now, Evil. Just a great actor, man. Great guy, great actor. Mike Coulter was also in Black and Blue. He played Darius for me. But I seen him first in Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby. He played opposite Hilary Swank. He was the boxer that was in the gym with Hilary Swank. Great actor.
Oh, okay.
Was he an athlete? I'm assuming he was an athlete at some point.
Yeah, I believe Mike played a little bit of football, but I think he was a football player for a while, but acting is his thing.
Yeah. He looked very familiar. You know, one of the things I thought was interesting, and I had seen a promo you had did on social media with on Tyron Turner. And I was assuming that Tyron was going to be, you know, like this was going to be like a huge role. I was a little disappointed that he wasn't in the movie as much as I wanted him to be.
Right.
You know
right.
What I mean?
Well, he does play a very big role in the film.
Play a big role.
He does.
But yeah, I think that I had to place him. So much stuff going on because we can't lose focus. There was a lot more of him and Mike Coulter.
Cut it out.
But what happens in these films is it becomes a two-hander. Right. It's about Hilary and Michael Ealy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And what ultimately happens is you have to sacrifice at times a little bit of those B and C stories in order to pull out the A story even more.
Right.
But I just thought Tyron's role to be in this was like phenomenal because who would have ever thought we would see Tyron Turner opposite Hilary Swank? Kane. Right? I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Like, I remember looking on set through the camera one time, like, yo, that's Kane and Hilary Swank. That's crazy. Yeah, it was great. It was great. But he was a bad boy in this, though, man.
Yes, he was.
He was. And what's his partner's name? His cousin's name?
That artist, he's a rap artist. His name is Compton Menace.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'll tell you where I seen that kid at, which I was like, man, this kid's a star. I wanted to just use him.
Oh, he's not an actor.
He's not an actor. But what happened was in the NWA movie, the first 5 minutes of the film, there are kids throwing stuff out the bus. If you ever seen the movie, the Straight Outta Compton movie.
Yeah.
And a car pulls over in front of the bus, and a guy gets on the bus. And that guy is Compton Menace. And for 35 seconds, when that movie first started, everybody in the theater that I was with was like, yo, who is that? He had a 30-second role in the movie. I was like, I got to use him. Like, he was just that good. So his name is Compton Menace, and he's a great actor.
But in the movie, his name is it Bumpy?
Yeah, Bumpy. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, we're going to go to the last and final clip. She got him.
I think that's got him, and I think that's when, for me, that's when you see acting at the next level to me. Like, that just was great, man. Like, no matter who you are, you have to appreciate that scene with him and her. You know what I mean? Like, she has a position, he has a position. And they're both, again, which is they're both trying to get something, right? He just wants her to go away, right? But at the same time, he used her. You know what I mean? So now she's going to use him, right? And it's like, all right, here we go. But all those interrogation scenes are great to me. I love them.
Yeah, and speaking of Tyron, it was somewhat similar to the Menace. Not really.
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of, not really though. Yeah. I mean, there was an interrogation scene, and obviously in Menace Society as well. That famous interrogation scene where he says, "You know, you fucked up." So. Right. And she's essentially saying the same thing to him. And that scene was just like, you know, you fucked up, right? Or he knows you fucked up. And he's kind of, you know, he what do they say? Don't eat where you poop, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, he messed up big time, man. And I just thought that Michael's performance in the movie, when people get an opportunity to see it, what's great about him in the film is he's redeemable. Yep. And that's very hard to do. That's what I thought. That's when we were talking a little bit earlier about Michael Douglas and Fatal Attraction. He was redeemable. Right. You know what I mean? Here's someone that made a very, very bad mistake, but at the same time, it was a mistake and he was trying to fix it. You know what I mean? And he just made that mistake with the wrong person. But I love redeemable characters. And as crazy and off the wall Hilary is, she has a point too. You know what I mean? Like, she's coming from a certain place as well. She's not just nuts. She's been driven nuts by what's pushing her. Right.
So you're humanizing her. We didn't see her, you know, you're humanizing her character. And I'm kind of like, I don't think she was too human there. She's really kind of had him in a web from the word go.
But I think we can't really speak to it as a woman without us giving away the movie. She's fighting for something that me and you, right? That's more precious to her than anything. Okay. So she's willing to have casualties for that. You know what I mean? So that's why I said, man, she has something. She's angling for something. She's not just Glenn Close, where she's like, oh, I'm just nuts. She is that, but she actually has something on the backpack this time. But she's like, I need to fill this backpack up. So I think that's what kind of moves it a little bit.
Right. So you're promoting. Tell the audience what you're promoting. Is it buy one get one? If they go see the movie, is that correct?
Opening weekend.
Yeah, opening weekend. Myself and Roxanne, we put together a campaign where if you buy one ticket to see Fatale, we'll buy the other one for you. Nice. And you can go to adamtickets.com to learn more information about that, or you can go to amctheaters.com to rent out an entire theater for you and your family to see the movie. Obviously, we know that the pandemic is going on and people don't want to go out and you have to be safe. But when we learned a little bit about this program that they have called Cinema Safe, and we learned all the things they're doing in the theater for people to actually be able to go have a movie experience, we were like, oh man, well then people need to go see the movie in the theater, especially if you get out the house and just go with your wife or your friends and have a whole theater. And I just said, man, we got to make sure people get a chance to see this movie on the big screen because Dante's work is phenomenal. The sound, the score. Jeff Zanelli is the composer who did all the Pirates of the Caribbean films. So we just wanted to let people get that impact. And also, we could all use a little escapism right now with everything that's going on. So the theater for me has always been a way to get away from everything that's going on in the world and just see something, man, and escape for 2 hours with a big box of popcorn and a soda. So hopefully people will get an opportunity in whatever markets that are open to go check out the film safely.
We will help promote that, absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're gonna do. Well, we want to salute both you and your lovely wife, Roxanne, Deon. You guys are phenomenal. We are honored to meet you guys. Yes. It's been our pleasure. We look forward to meeting you in person, and I'm sure you'll have a film because you're just cranking them out left and right. And I noticed you like the horror genre too. I was looking at your bio, and I was like, he likes horror, and then he's over here. So I peeped that as well, that you jumping around. What do you have coming down the pike? What are you thinking about?
Well, we have a really big horror film that we just shot called Don't Fear, which stars Joseph Sikora from Power, and T.I. and Terrence J. and a bunch of other guys, King Batch. That's probably going to come out next year, but we're getting ready to go into a really big year here. We're getting ready to do the John Lewis story, which is a very big movie. We're locked in to do the Harlem Globetrotter story with Sony, which is a very big film from the 1940s. And the guys that made Parasite, CJ is the company. We actually are doing their very next film, which is a movie called Grave Hill, which is a gothic horror film set in 1840. And we'll be doing that January. We'll start that January. So we pretty booked up, man. But I mean, the level is going up and projects are going up, and we're going to just try to hang on and keep swinging.
You are doing it, man. When do you guys take a vacation?
This is our vacation.
That's it.
I'm talking to you. Get on down there, get to work now. Get on over there, get that paper.
Roxanne,
I
get some papers.
Don't quit, Roxanne. Don't quit now. He needs you.
No, we have plenty of time. We're together all the time. So we've actually found a really interesting way to work and be together, which is really, really cool. So might be we watching the news together and she'll slip a couple questions in, or you know what I mean? It's just kind of our life now.
Get it.
Yeah.
So I could talk to you for another hour, but we can't do that. But I'll ask you one more question. So it sounds like you went polar opposites. Like 10, 13 years ago, you were one thing, and now you're completely opposite of where you were. How does that feel?
It's surreal for me. There's no words to explain when you see your trailer or your film on the big screen, especially like talking earlier, like where we came from. Like I was just trying to figure out how I was gonna eat, you know what I mean? And like how I was gonna survive. So to be able to be in this position is like, it's baffling sometimes. And he's a little bit better than me because I always just head down, work, you know what I mean? And I'm learning how to try to take time to live in the moment and experience this time that we have in this journey, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. You know what I mean? And of course, there's still a lot of sacrifices along the way that we endure, but obviously they're different. But really just trying to take time to embrace and be thankful and live in the moment. And like I said, when I see like the film on TV and the DVDs in our office, like now we have a little collection, it's just like, it's tearful. You know what I mean? It's tearful to see that. And I can't even believe that I'm doing it. Most of the time I'm like, man, I actually produced that movie. I did that. Like, you know what I mean? And so to be able to be like, our kids are like now getting a little bit older. Well, one's 16, one's 7, but the 7-year-old and the 3-year-old, they're even like, that's our mom and dad's movie. You know what I mean? Like to hear that is like priceless. You know?
I agree with what you're saying, that living in the moment, it is tough. Cause I'm like you, Floyd and I are always just like, do, make it. And then, you know, and for us, I'll speak for myself, when, you know, a filmmaker comes to us and is just like, you gave me my first break, or winning that award meant so much to me. And you know, or I met this great person with, you know, on the Vineyard. It just makes you feel like, well, damn, we really are doing something impactful. Because when you are in it, you just don't see yourself and see the impact what you're doing has on somebody else's life, you know? And when we got our Academy Award accreditation, it was just sort of like, damn, that is, you know, the culmination of all of this work that we're doing that people really respected. And let's be honest, we're not reinventing the wheel. There's a million film festivals out there, but I think what we do is just so unique. And I think doing it on the Vineyard and doing things here in Denver, people really connect with us. So I totally agree with you. I'm trying to learn the same thing, to kind of just like pat myself on the back and be like, damn, Stephanie, Floyd, y'all, you know, sacrifice.
You're doing the work. 100%. You're doing the work.
I can remember when I was pregnant with Zoe in my belly, throwing up, a horrible morning sickness, and it was just me and Floyd, and I'm at registration and it's just, you know, it's great. But you know, you made me think about, you have to pat yourself on the back and just be
too, like we are Black women and Black men, you know what I mean? And so we can't stop and we can't quit, and we do have to see what we're doing so we can bring everybody along with us, you know what I mean, that have these same dreams and these same goals. Because like my first thing in the beginning, like we all started from nothing, you know what I mean? So when they can see people like you guys start something and finish, it starts with the idea, and then you got to put it together. Then you got, everybody can't go all the way through, right? Because they give up and it's too hard and somebody said no and this and that, but to take it and see it all the way through, you know what I mean? And to be able to stand there and pull people up to say thank you. And you guys, I'm honored to know you guys, and congratulations for all your work. I mean, you're on Martha's Vineyard as Black people, pulling other Black people, you know what I mean, to showcase their work. It's incredible, you know?
Man. Look, I'll leave you guys with this. You guys, we've never been to Martha's Vineyard. We were coming because we were invited by you all to be there for the first time ever. You know what I mean? And that's historic. You know what I mean? And this would have been one of the moments where we would have walked around and had that moment where we're like, damn, this is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So those are the moments, and we have so many of those. Like even now, like as we're going around talking about the film, you know, it took a long time to get to a place to where you could get people looking at Dante's work from the Academy, or you could see people say, man, Hilary was really good. But before they was just like, oh, y'all just making movies. We don't give a shit. Right. It wasn't good. Next, you know what I mean? And we're like, wait, hold on. We're really doing these movies for $2, $3, $4, $5 million. Like, you guys got to really give us a chance and look at these things.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? So now we've really worked hard to get to a place to where someone who is a critical eye like Floyd can talk to us about cinema.
Right.
And that alone means everything to us. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just the story and the drive to get here, but Floyd said, what are you thinking about in that scene? And I'm able to tell him. And that's a priceless moment. So we really, really respect, number one, and appreciate you guys for what you guys mean to the culture. And it is not going unseen what you all are doing. So please keep it up, man. We are fans.
Thank you. And likewise, congratulations to both of you guys. Kudos and continued success. You guys are amazing. And you're an inspiration to Gary, Indiana, Chicago, and
right.
every little Deon Taylor and Roxanne out there, man. You guys are making it happen for sure.
So tell the audience when this film's coming out. Tell them when it's coming out.
December 18th in theaters everywhere that's open.
Buy one, get one.
Buy one, get one, man. And guess what? If you out there, you got a whole bunch of money, just buy some tickets for us, man. We own this movie. It's Black owned, and we need you to support
And
it.
shortly after, if theaters aren't open, shortly after it'll be coming to everybody's home. So just stay tuned.
Perfect.
All right, good deal.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Bye.
All right.
Great, thank you.